Good morning and welcome back to the Vision Alignment Show. We've had such a great weekend. We've had such a great week. There's so many good things that are happening in this world. So many good things that are happening on this show. You know, I'm just thankful that you're all here. We're getting towards the Christmas holiday, and those of you that celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. And those of you that don't celebrate Christmas, Happy Holidays. Whatever this holiday season means to you, I want to make sure that we're respectful for that. So just looking forward to spending more time with family and friends, more family than anything, over the next few weeks. And I just know how much that means to me, and it means so much to our guest that's coming on today, and it also means so much to a lot of you that are on online here. So thank you for joining. You know, in the Vision Alignment Show, we talk about how important it is to have your core beliefs and your core values aligned with your vision. Oh, our guest today has been on the show before, and she knows a lot about having her vision aligned with those core strengths. I don't want to spend any time introducing her, and I just want to get right to it because I want to make sure we have as much time with her as possible. So without any further ado, I want to bring on our guest, Miss Laura Staley. Laura, good morning.
Good morning, Brian. It is such a joy to be with you again. Such an honor to be back.
It's great to have you here. I can't tell you how honored we are to have you on the show.
Oh, it's truly a gratitude. You know, in fact, lately I've been calling it abundancingly grateful. That's how I feel for, you know, each moment that I'm here, that I'm alive, that love flourishes. And, you know, I love your, you know, that invitation to all of us, right, to align our vision with those core values. In fact, it makes me think of how I was just offering that perspective to a gentleman on LinkedIn. He was talking about SMART goals and culture, et cetera, et cetera. And I just offered that, wow, what do you really, really value? If you value love, if, like for me, I value love, I value compassion, I value courage, I value kindness, just to name four. I also value, you know, wisdom and creativity, honesty and integrity. And wow, to then have your vision aligned with that in any given moment, you'll know how to respond because you'll check in with those core values. Don't you think, Brian?
Oh, yeah.
That's absolutely my experience. Like I literally wake up in the morning or well, not in the, maybe not in the morning, because when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, woohoo, another day, you know, most days.
I made it.
You know, I do. Well, and today I told you that I got to run again at the lake and saw the wood ducks, and it was so beautiful and such a blessing, right, to pay attention to that from that wider lens and not just be inside my thoughts or the songs. But I ask myself, what would love do now? If I'm having a moment where I'm like, right, I'll just ask myself, what would love do now? Because love is one of my core values. Or I'll say, what would compassion do? what would a courageous person do? And if I say I'm a courageous person, then maybe a courageous person would be able to, I would speak my truth, not out of unkindness, but out of just being honest with another person, especially if they ask my opinion. If somebody wants my thought about whatever they might be sorting through, but I won't do it with unkindness. It'll be just like, have you considered, have you thought about this? I usually present it like a question rather than, gosh, why are you wearing that, whatever? And I'm like, because I don't, I really don't, at the end of the day, it's not how, I guess packaging is part of it, but it's those core values that get to shine through. And when those core values can shine through, oh my gosh, we go to bed at night with so much peace in our hearts because the words that came out or the actions that we took were aligned with our deepest values. And so likely there's no regret at the end of the day. You didn't, it's like love says, tell people that you appreciate them. Love would say loving words and honest words to somebody that you care deeply about, right? So at the end of the day, you can have that peace of mind that you lived aligned with those core values. So anyway, I just love, I love radical vision. I do. It's like the alignment is so beautiful. Like anytime I get to the honor of being in conversation with you, Brian, it's that reminder to live from my heart.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. I'm glad to have you in my world.
Right back at you.
Yeah. Well, Laura, when is the first time you think you knew your vision or knew what you wanted, knew how to go about this world the way you should?
Yeah, kind of like those first. I suppose there were moments in my childhood that I was in those contrasts of difficult, challenging individuals and interactions, and the ones that felt so much better. So, for instance, I knew being with my grandma Hope just felt amazing because I felt her unconditional love for me. And she just like deeply accepted exactly who I was. And, beamed and radiated that love towards me. And it planted that seed in me that I could be like my grandma Hope. So I would claim that as a deep insight. And I'm human, right? And she was human too. And I thought, wow, this energy, because I felt that energy field around her. Like if you've ever been with a really grumpy person, you're kind of like, yeah. Or if you yourself, and I know I've had grumpy moments, right? And it's kind of, you feel off. You just kind of feel off. And I guess I wanted to be the kind of person who others actually wanted to be around, right? Because it felt good. And I knew how good it felt to be in the energy field and just sit really close to my grandma Hope, even if she wasn't saying anything, because she just seemed to exude gentleness and compassion and love, and of course her perfume, right? Which I don't remember the name of, but there are moments that, of course, she's been gone for a really long time. But then in my adult life, we sometimes take crooked trails, right? I took on the expectations of other people, and I'm proud of what I accomplished. So I earned a master's degree. I earned a PhD in political science. I taught college students. I learned so much from those experiences, but I really, really, really wanted to be a full-time parent. And I was fortunate to be able to make that choice, in the context of the marriage and, in conversations with my then husband. So parenting became an expression of a deeper vision. I would say that was aligned with my core values, right? And it was really blessed by that experience, because I got to break patterns that weren't healthy and really deeply love and accept my two children, who are adults now, 100%. And then in the midst of that experience, we had a flood. There's always a challenge that kind of like opens the door, but the flood then opened the door to the whole experience. I learned about this body of wisdom, this 3,000-year-old ancient wisdom called Feng Shui, and got trained and certified with the Western School of Feng Shui after losing so many belongings, and really found a passion and a purpose for a lifetime, because it's not just about our physical belongings and decluttering. It's about living true to your values. It's going deep inside and doing that introspection and decluttering your heart from the hurts and the wounds, if you will, and decluttering your limiting beliefs, right? Being able to shred those limiting beliefs that might be stopping you from living consistent with your deepest values, whatever those values are. So I love the body of wisdom, and then I've gone on to write four books so far. I have 2 essays that were in 2 different books, Mayhem to Miracles being the latest book that the essay My Son and Me was published in, and that became a best-selling book on through Amazon, Mayhem to Miracles, and then Abundant Heart just released in November of this year. So I did, and as a little girl, I had a dream of being an author because I love books. I loved books then. I just, oh my gosh, they took me places in my imagination, right? And I still love books. I devour them, right? And certain books just really touched my heart, and again, pointed me to those deep core values and how I could live my life. And I was reading about people overcoming all kinds of challenges, right? And how they came through and became better people. I mean, I think about Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, and one of my favorite quotes of his is, between stimulus and response, there's a pause, right? And in that pause, we choose our response. And in that response, we find our power and our freedom. And I'm like, and I stuck that one right on my refrigerator, but there's so many more.
Say that again.
What's that?
Say that again. This is from Man's
Search for Meaning. Yeah, Viktor Frankl was it. He was a survivor of the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And it's a powerful read. And again, one of my favorite quotes, and I may not have it exactly, but I stuck it on my refrigerator and had it there for the longest time until I just kind of integrated it into my psyche. Between stimulus and response, there's a pause.
Okay.
And in that pause, we can find our response. And in our response, we discover our power and our freedom, which kind of goes to the earlier thoughts that I was sharing about our values. So if somebody comes up to you and says something that just kind of tweaks you, right?
Yeah.
If you pause and take a moment to really reflect and then connect, like for me, I connect, I often do this, right? or I'll put my hands on my heart, because that's a reminder to me to come from my heart in how I respond. And sometimes silence, or even asking another question. Gosh, I'm so curious what had you say that? Because it could have been something that kind of offended you, right? Or you had that initial kind of like, wow, how dare you say that to me, right? But then kind of reflect deeper how I respond to that. And can I respond from my deepest values? Because when I do that, then I'm living in integrity from my heart and from my deepest values, no matter what somebody says to me. And it makes me think of how, unconditional love is what came out of what came out of Jesus, right? Not to get, because I honor all faiths. I believe many faiths are about love. Mm-hmm. And I know there are atheists and agnostics, and I believe that those individuals can still behave from a value of compassion and love if they so choose. There's still, or creativity or critical thinking, right? Whatever it is that inspires them and engages their imagination and feels better. So if I respond from love to something that sounds so maybe offensive to somebody else, then I'm living true to myself. And I can have compassion and curiosity about what happened to them that they felt so judgmental of me, or critical of me, right? What happened to somebody who felt so angry, right? Because often, that the criticism, right, comes at you not in a kind way. Well, right. At least that's been my experience. It kind of,
it can hurt, right? Sometimes.
It kind of comes out a little bit, right? And you're just kind of like, wow. And I've also learned that at the times that I've done that, it's because I've been cranky on the inside. I'm like doing that to myself, and then I'm doing it to another, and it's like, wow, that's not so great.
Right.
Because it's almost like the mean thoughts towards myself then get projected onto another human being. And I've discovered, Brian, that I'm actually not committed to that. Because it doesn't feel very aligned with love. Now there is the example of, I loved, and I get to say that Brene Brown really inspires me. And she shared about saying to somebody, and I guess I've done the same thing, so maybe I could use an example from my own life, but it was about setting boundaries, right? So for instance, I let my son know that, he happened to share with me, this was a while ago, and he stopped this behavior, but he shared with me that he had been vaping, and I got really silent. And rather than being real critical and, oh my gosh, you're doing unhealthy things, and don't you know that could kill you, and blah, 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 right? And kind of come from fear and maybe some anger, which in, like I was scared of my kids getting tattoos. Well, both of them have tattoos, like, okay, I'm like, okay, calm down, Laura.
Come on, Mom.
I don't have to, right? I don't have to get a tattoo. But so at any rate, he just was really honest with me, and I got really quiet instead of being critical. And what I looked for was this realization that he was visiting. He was visiting me at the time here in North Carolina, and I was able to get really quiet, practice the pause, right? And then say to him, thank you so much for not doing that behavior while you've been in my presence and in my home, and that felt really good, right? And he got real quiet, and then we just changed the subject. And do you know, Brian, what was so amazing is, like, about a month later, I'm on a phone call with him, and we never discussed it. I never said another word about that choice that he was making. He's an adult, right? And I kept telling myself, he's really smart. He'll figure this out. He's figured so many other things out about his life. And he said, you know what, Mom? I stopped vaping. And a big part of why I stopped vaping is because you weren't critical. You didn't judge me.
How does that make you feel?
Oh my God. Like I've done my work. It's an example of connecting with my values, of loving my son and trusting him enough to make the right choice for him, and that he could go inside himself and choose his life. Because on some level, he knew that behavior was harming his body. He knew that. And I knew that. And he knew that I knew that, even though we didn't talk about it.
Right.
Right? Because I was the mom who was like all about, I mean, I'm a runner and my kids are runners. He's a runner, right?
Yeah.
He ran cross country. My daughter ran cross country. My daughter does spin classes now. I took yoga, blah, 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 blah. And I was all like, for me, it wasn't a moral issue. It was all about health, health and well-being. Right. Yeah. And, oh my God. So how did it make me feel deeply valued, respected? Yeah.
That's cool.
Like our connection is so strong.
That's so cool.
I think he felt just utterly respected.
You gotta love that.
And that he could be that honest with me and be met with love and a thank you. Because really that's what there was to say. Because the reality is, had he began doing that behavior inside my house or even outside of my house, quite frankly, right? Or in the car with me as I was driving, I probably would have said, I got that you do this behavior, but you can't do it in my car and you cannot do it in my home. And then he would either honor that boundary or he wouldn't. But I would have said that. I know I would have said that, but I didn't have to because he wasn't doing the behavior. But he told me yeah, wow. And the courage on his part to be that honest with me. And maybe maybe he was testing our relationship. I don't know. I just know he had a deep commitment to be honest.
Yeah.
And so that was super brave of him. Because I think how it came up is I got critical about somebody smoking, right? Mm-hmm. I was doing my little blah, blah, blah about somebody and their cigarette smoking. And that's when he just kind of chimed in and he goes, "Oh, no, Mom, I vape." And I was like, whoa, okay. Right? Because if you're doing this, you got 3 fingers going back at you. I mean, right. I don't do that behavior. But I don't know why other people do the behavior. And I never asked my son why he chose to do that behavior, right? All I know is I'm super grateful that he stopped.
So can we draw that back to your values?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I value connection. I value the love and the unconditional love and acceptance of my son. So loving and deeply accepting my son for who he is and who he's not, separate from his behaviors, is aligned with my values. I love my son. I want to stay connected. I love my daughter. I want to stay connected. I may not agree with a behavior that either of them do, and I get to love my kids.
Yeah.
And if they ever ask me my opinion, I'll likely say it. I'll likely say, yeah, if you want to smoke cigarettes, you can't do it in my house. And I know you're smart and you'll figure it out that doesn't feel good for your body, but you already heard me back way back when. And I love you and I stay connected to you. See, I think sometimes people ghost people. Rather than figuring out a middle way that comes from your deepest values, because if you really value the relationship you'll find a way to stay connected to a human being who might be making awful choices. And not that you will like allow them to do those behaviors around you, but you're going to love them and be an example and go about living your life and hope that your example and your choices inspire them to maybe make a different choice. But it's got to come from inside another person.
Yeah.
You know, like if I'm over here telling you what to do, you're likely going to go, you can't make me. I don't wanna. Who are you to tell me what to do? Right? So better to go, well, here are the choice. I run and I do this and that. And you may never want to run, you know. But what healthy things are you choosing to do for yourself and your life? You know, and what are your values and how are you living consistent with them? So if you value your health, your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, well, gosh, if that's a core value for you, what actions and behaviors are you doing consistent with that core value? Make sense? And who am I to tell you what that is? For all I know, it could be kickboxing, right? Or a walk in the woods, or maybe you get up and do gentle movements. You know, you do this every morning, you know, and wow. And after, 20 days of doing this for 2 seconds, you're like, wow, that feels pretty good.
Yeah.
You put my arms up in the air, and that's it. And I'm like, yay, like it's each person finding within themselves what they really value, what's important to you, and then taking actions that then are consistent with that, right? Because when you do that, you're living true to yourself, even if everybody else is doing something completely different, right? You get to live true to who you are and belong to yourself. And walk tall and proud that you're in integrity and in alignment with what, in my case, what love would do, or what compassion would do. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah,
Bob?
absolutely. That makes sense. Makes total sense. We've got some people on with us today that are listening in. So our friend Linda Zara coming in from West Virginia. It says, yeah, so she's awesome. Laura, Linda is incredible. So another good friend of the show. And then we have Mark Husick on as well from Ohio. And good morning, Mike or Mark. It's good seeing you this morning. But yeah, there's so many other people that are on. I'm sure that are either going to listen to this on replay or on live. But what I can't believe is, in this short amount of time, we have already gone through our 30 minutes together, which is hard to believe. But I know there's so much that we have to learn from you, because you know this world so well. You know what we're doing so well. You know how to live your life with just the way you live it. It's inspirational to a lot of people. So I'm wondering if we can come back on, have another conversation, talk more about your books and the value that we can get from your books. I feel like we've just started to skim the surface again, and you and I seem to be so connected.
Oh.
Would you be willing to come back on?
Oh, I'd be honored. Like as many times as you would want to be in conversation and listen to what I have to share. It's just such a joy, honestly. So yes, of course.
Okay. Well, I will. We'll definitely schedule something. But for now, up front into the Christmas, approaching the Christmas season, what would you leave our listeners with?
I guess what downloads is silent. There's a reason that it was called Silent Night. just an invitation to go to the silent places, because I know there's a lot of grief, love. There's a lot of loss right now. And to not feel that, feel all the big feels around the grief and the love. But if you can go to the silent places, it can be a great comfort. Just like in Silent Night, all is calm and all is bright there in the silence. So that's what I would offer.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on.
No, my joy and my pleasure, Brian. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Would you be willing to hang out in the green room for me? And I'll be back in a second.
Absolutely. Right. And happy holidays, everyone.
All right. Yep. Happy holidays. See ya. Oh my goodness. Laura Staley is incredible. And I'm indebted to her because she really brings me to a place where, you know, I'm more casual, more silent, more relaxed, more who I am. And I just I appreciate her so much. So I look forward to having her back on. We have another guest coming on. Well, he was going to come on next Monday, but I'm actually going to be with my daughter in Alexandria, Virginia next Monday. So there'll be no show on that Monday. But we're going to try to do some other things to kind of keep things going here. So look forward to having you back on. I'm really appreciative of everyone coming on today and in the future. So, you know, there's just so much to be thankful for. And that this Christmas season and the holiday season in general, you know, we all need to slow down, all need to be quiet, all need to be silent at times. So I just thank you for all that you've done for me and all that you continue to do for this world. So we'll talk again, hopefully next year, but before that, thank you very much. Take care, be good, and as always, keep one eye